But I can rest assured that the attitude that the PF has exhibited, look, this money will not reach the intended beneficiaries who are the actual and real businessmen. These loans are going to banks, will just be phoned and they will be told which people to give the money, and they will never pay back. They will never pay back. So this money is going into a bottomless. This money will go into a bottomless pit, and it will bring us more and more misery and problems associated with the COVID, loss of business, and the effect on the economy.
If the government is to prove you wrong, how then would you suggest they must disperse this money in the most transparent manner if they are to prove you wrong?
How can they prove me wrong? You heard what GBM answered when he said, yes, Kambwili is suffering because he's in the opposition. When you are in the opposition, you cannot expect to have business. When you are in the opposition, you are not expected to enjoy anything from this country. If Kambwili wants business, he should come and join PF. So tell me, how can they convince me if they can issue such statements? How can they convince me if they can issue that statement? I am owed money by government. They have just refused to pay me. They are just, for services I rendered, they have just refused to pay me. Now tell, let's take BH Diesels, run by my dear colleague from the UPND, or any other company owned by anybody from MMD, from Zadeco. Mention the parties apply for this money. Are you telling me they can give them? At KCM, my brother, I used to do business with KCM, supply mine on behalf of KCM. They threatened KCM, they terminate my contract. Today, when you go to KCM, the people that are doing business there are ministers, MPs, and provincial chairmen. Those are the new contractors. And when you go and look at the records, when they started doing business with KCM, is when the receiver went there. Which receiver belongs to PF? When they are paying suppliers and contractors today, these are facts. Go and check at KCM. The provincial chairmen are paid, the ministers are paid, the other ordinary contractors are not paid. So tell me how they can convince me that this 10 billion will be used by Zambians without segregation. That, my brother, I am convinced beyond reasonable doubts that will never happen. All they want is this money to end up in PF pockets so that they have more money as they'll be doing the campaign in 2021. Believe me, nobody, and I mean nobody, ordinary or from the opposition, can access that money. And by the way, business is an inborn. You don't just start business because you belong to PS and because they can give you a favor and do business. I started business early in the 90s, dealing with the mines. I have always mined on behalf of mining companies. Today, as I speak to you, I don't have any contract running in the mines. They've threatened them. Now, when you look at this scenario, do you expect that this money will genuinely end up with the businessmen that need it? The answer is a big no.
Let's move on. Another burning issue that is beforehand is the issue of the illegal gold mining that was reported taking place in Mwinilunga, and a number of people have been arrested to that effect. Is there? Do you feel that there is need to heavily guard these gold mines?
First and foremost, under any normal circumstance, when you are dealing with a government that is fair, public affairs, but these gold reserves must be given to small-scale Zambians on artisanal or on artisan mine licenses. But like I said earlier, if we do that, it will end up with and PF sympathizers. So the best way to do now, it is better that that resource is given to PMHI, so that at least we can get a return as a country. When they make a profit, it will be used in the economy. It will be used to provide services for social services. It will be used to run hospitals. Then every Zambian can benefit. But if we say, let them give artisanal, small-scale miners, the people who have the certificates are Kungo, the one they've arrested, and others, but they didn't take action because they were beneficiaries. The PF Secretary General knew about PF Congo's activities in Northwestern Province. They are very close, and he was saying that when the PF Secretary General is touring the country, even is going to, for instance, Western Province, you find that Congo is on the entourage of the Secretary General. There's not been pressure from the traditional authorities in Northwestern Province, and people could have not been arrested. I remember seeing honorable that I give them 7 days or 14 days to arrest these people involved, because they've been doing this thing for a long time and government has just been watching. So, in a nutshell, my dear brothers, the Zambians, it would be wrong for the country to say they will give small-scale artisanal. The only people that are benefiting from the small-scale gold mining, or even the equipment, are all PF cadres. But as the economy of Zambia revolves around PF cadres, there's nothing wrong with PF cadres also participating in the economy. But I think we must be fair that every Zambian, regardless of their political affiliation, must participate. To be a multi-party democracy, you really need to embrace everybody, regardless of their political affiliation. But today, PF looks like a very big political party. But I can tell you something for nothing, that most of the people do not even believe in their PF. You can't do business. That is why come next year, January, February, you see the disintegration of PF on a large scale. Because most of the people have gone there and want to show that they are sympathizers, not because they are sympathizers, not because they are treated like Chishimba Kambwili, they will not have any business. And there's Monga works. Monga is a loafer, but he can afford to pay the school fees for my children. My take is that government was very aware and they were also benefiting. They've been forced to take this action to arrest their cadres. And by the way, it is all from Winilong. How greedy in government. So the gold scandal is a scandal of the thieves, by the thieves, for the thieves, but pretending to be clean. So this resource in Northwestern must be given to ZCMHR. Because if we bring in another foreign investor, we cannot afford to be giving all important businesses to the foreigners. Look at what was just about to happen at Mopani. We were threatened. Mopani wanted to put the mine under care and maintenance.
Right.
But if this resource was being run by ZCCM, in short, through the government, surely such a thing could have not happened. Look at the level of employment in Zambia today in the mine. Because these people, the capitalists, all they want are profits. They have reduced the number of employees. not because they cannot afford to pay them, but they just want to increase their profit portfolio. So my recommendation is that this resource be given to an already established mining investment portfolio, which is ZCCM. And as we do that, please, business for the locals, contractors, suppliers, must be given to people without a political connotation. I started business with a mine long in the early 90s, during the time. And I went through, all the way. At this time, because I am critical of government, and I'm critical positively to advise them so that this country can move forward. I have been treated like a leper in my own country, and by the way, by a party that I helped to form, party that even enjoyed part of my proceeds from my businesses. If you may wish to know, that I'm one of the few first financiers of PF when we just formed it in 1991. The PF that they're enjoying, the PF that Bowman Lusambo is insulting me, Monga is insulting me, GBM is insulting me. One of the first few funders with Chimumbwa. But today, what is happening has never happened in this country. You see, Mwanawasa, may his soul rest in peace. Mwanawasa was a very, very, good president. In 2007-8, MMD cadres went to Mwanawasa and told him, this Chishimba Kambwili does a lot of business with the mining companies, and he makes a lot of money. This is the money they are using to fund the PF. Can we instruct the mining companies to stop dealing with his companies? Mwanawasa refused. If the wife is listening, she can bear me witness. Mwanawasa said, look, this Chishimba Kambwili and with his companies employ Zambians. Now, if we terminate this contract, what happens to those Zambians that employ? This Chishimba Kambwili pays taxes. What happens if we push him out of business with the taxes that he pays? If you people want to compete with Chishimba Kambwili, go and compete. I am not going to squeeze somebody based on political affiliation. And by the way, for me, what Chishimba Kambwili tells us, he tells us to be on our toes and wake up. And every time he speaks, I listen to Parliament. And I appreciate his contribution. So in a nutshell, Mwanawasa refused. And that time, my brother, I was the sole supplier of my Yale drink to the mining companies. And they wanted to get that business and give it to somebody from MMD. Mwanawasa refused. That is how a president should be. But today, you can't like what is happening. These ministers, whatever they hear that there is this kind of business, they'll go and remove whoever and take over. Singing songs for PF, they are not happy. When we meet them, they say, Amdara, there's nothing we can do. We know these guys are wrong, but we have to eat with them. If we start attacking them, we'll not be given any business. Now, when you have an attitude like that in a country, the country will not develop. Because people are not genuinely providing leadership. People are working towards their own survival. So this God issue, in my view, must just be given to a big parastatal and remove politics. Otherwise, if politics continue in everything we do, we are not going to develop as a country.
Right. Let me remind our listeners that this is the Burning Issue Tuesday edition, and my guest is the National Democratic Congress leader, Honorable Chishimba Kambwili. And in the studio, I also have with me NDC Media Director Emmanuel Malite. And I will be taking your calls pretty soon for you to obviously have an interaction with our guest, the president. But right now, let me still, keep it on the copper belt, because I have an interesting question. You and me know that on November 21st, 1997, ZESCO Limited and CEC entered into an agreement where the former was supplying bulk power to the latter, and the deal came to an end. What we are hearing is that renewal of this deal is now and void, and it looks like it will not in any way take place, meaning that ZESCO is taking over the supply of mines, the supply of electricity to the mines. What is your take on this, and how sustainable will it be once it gets to ZESCO, considering that we're still experiencing load shedding?
First and foremost, let me say that the issue of ZESCO and CEC must be handled in a very mature way. Because if we are not careful, we are going to end up like the lap green issue, where a lot of money will be paid in terms of compensation to the directors of CEC. The entire equipment on the copper belt and facilities that are used to distribute electricity belongs to CEC. It does not belong to the government. CEC, if people want to know, was part of ZCCM. It was called at that time, it was called Copperbelt Power Company. Copperbelt Power Company. And then at privatization, the facility was sold, and most of the people that bought shares were former employees of Copperbelt Power Company. It was like a management buyout.
Right.
And then it was also floated on some stock exchange, and it has grown, to the levels that it is. And a lot of money has been invested to upgrade that equipment that they found, etc., etc. So, in a nutshell, if we are going to do an hefty takeover, we are going to end up with a lot of liabilities to pay the directors of CEC. What I would recommend myself is that they need to sit down and let it be a win-win situation. Because I am reliably informed that I think what has been some sticking issues is on the tariffs that they agreed upon in the previous contract. But they can relook at the tariffs and find a lasting solution so that we don't expect a situation where there is a deadlock in the negotiation between CEC and the government, leading to an hostile takeover of the equipment and properties of CEC. Because when that happens, we are going to add on to the debt. We're already sitting on close to $20 billion in terms of debt, local and external and internal debt. So I think decisions that we should be making now should be above board, because once we accumulate a lot of debt or we start compensating certain companies for our carelessness, the people are going to suffer are the ordinary Zambians. Already today, you know that because of debt, teachers cannot have a salary increment. Because of debt, policemen cannot have a salary increment. Because of debt, soldiers cannot have a salary increment. In short, people who are working are suffering today. Why are they suffering? It's because things have gone up in terms of prices. The cost of living has gone up, but the salaries of the ordinary employees, both in government and in the private sector, have stagnated over a long period of time. The only time that civil servants enjoy a salary increment was under President Michael Sata when he gave over 100% in terms of salary increment. Today, everything has gone up in the economy. Meal has gone up, cooking oil has gone up, fuel has gone up, rentals for properties have gone up, but the salaries of the people have stagnated. And look at what the government does. This government, God help us. When I left government, the salary of a minister was about 18,000 kwacha. That was 2016. From 2016 to date, they are now close to 90,000 kwacha. Why they cannot suffer. Whether you increase electricity, somebody who is earning 90,000 kwacha will not feel the pinch. But they forget about the ordinary people. And they still want to come to the ordinary people and say, vote for us. What a government. What a leadership. So in a nutshell, my brother, we should not bring another problem on our hands through this CEC, ZESCO, issue. And by Mati company, and I can say that as we stand today, ZESCO is broke. ZESCO is actually supposed to be liquidated. Their balance sheet is very bad. They cannot even borrow. If ZESCO as a company went to borrow anywhere from any bank or even from a Shiloh, they cannot be accepted because their balance sheet is in red. Now, you want to bring a company whose balance sheet is in red to start dealing with the major industry in the company, which is the mining company. Should there be any problems in the supply of electricity to the mining company, this economy will ground to a halt. This economy will kneel. So, my advice is that let the government negotiate with CEC so that they have a win-win situation and status quo continues. Otherwise, giving this to ZESCO through an hostile takeover, as being suggested in some circles, will bring us very, very big problems. And again, we are well informed. No facts, but there is an allegation that all this is being done to fix Mr. Milupi. Because Mr. Milupi, the president of ADD, is one of the major shareholders in CEC. And people are saying, let's fix Milupi. Now, how can you run an economy, the country where you just want to fix individuals because they're in the opposition? Cry, my beloved country.
And Mr. President, allow me at this point maybe to bring in a few calls because we will have to let you go at some point. But maybe I can ask our listeners to call in and ask one or two questions which they may have for you on 0955-221515. We have a caller. Good morning, and where are you calling us from? And your name, please.
Good morning, President.
Good morning. Thank you. Your name and where are you calling us from?
This is the Mulenga voice of Wapula in Lusaka. Bakambwili Twanipush. Mule Sungo Mutindi. I think Nala Street could be the donation is very for Piravan to the ruling party because na Monakwati Baba problem. Bali Pama MPs ba UPND na ba ruling party. Nanga why get babule sintu bali ko kwera abantu ati bali foresha abantu ba UPND kulya ku Southern ni state bapere ya ba machechi. Nangu bapere ba disaster management bambyo kwera abantu because twamala bati ni policy. Yepo bambiro okutali kishanya lyonse batali kishanya lyonse batali kishanya you are landed we have a special mnankwe we na lefo ku defender. So babule byesintu fili aba government nangu ba health baperi ama churches aya pirwa muchinchira iki Catholic na.
Unfortunately, I cannot get anything.
Is that so?
I cannot hear anything from what the man is saying. So I don't know how I'm going to respond.
Okay. So then let's see if we can do it. We can ask our technical guys to work on that problem. But for now,
contribution.
That's right. Okay, so we'll come back to the cause a little later. But for now, probably I'll ask you to give us a comment so far on the progress made in as far as the alliance between NDC and the UPND. Are we making any headways?
I have said, and I want to say it again, the alliance is alive and kicking. The alliance is alive and kicking. We do have meetings to consolidate the alliance. In fact, last week, before I left for Luansha, because I'm in Luansha right now, I was supposed to meet Chairman Milupi, President Chairman Milupi, Akainde Ichilema, and others for a meeting to chat the way forward. So in a nutshell, yes, the alliance is live and kicking.
Okay. So let's see this time around if we can get a call, and if you can hear it, please confirm to us. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Hello, good morning, sir. This is Koilati. Good morning, President Kambwili.
Good morning, my brother.
Thank you very much. Startingly, we want to appreciate the efforts that you are making as opposition leaders in this country. Had it not been people like you and many opposition leaders present at HH, I think things would have been more worse than it is now. There are issues, salient issues, Honorable Kambwili, that we must not, and you readers, you must take seriously. One of the issues is the extent of corruption in this country. You remember there was the SIC report. You remember there is Auditor General's report. You remember there is also the building of houses in the Aquafarland here in Lusaka near Bauren. The issues of gold you have already labored. That issue is not a small issue. It's a big issue. Now the question is, if you look at the budget of this country, you find that there is less money that is given to the or to do with the work or approach to the people's living, the standard of living. And yet the huge chunk of money is going into individual pockets. Are you going to allow, if the opposition alliance go into power, are you going to allow these individuals who have enriched themselves not to be visited by the law? Then another issue that I am concerned about is also the issues of COVID. You remember that we are supposed to receive daily financial reports, or maybe a monthly financial report about the cumulative figure people are donating. On that one, they are conspicuously quiet. Are we comfortable that we just let them like that? We know how they have been abusing resources. Now, why are they fearing to tell us how much they have accumulated from the donation, so that we know the shortfall, or if there is sufficient money that has come from individual donors? And by doing so, it is also encouraging more donors to come on board because they know that the government is transparent. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Honorable Chishimba, would you like to react to that?
Certainly, it cannot be put better than how the callers put it. This country is bleeding economically because of corruption. We know people that have done acts of corruption in this country, and they are known. Because like I've said, you see, in this country, what people forget, even those who are in leadership today, is that people know us before we get into government. People knew Chishimba Kambwili before he got into government. When you go to Chingora, they'll tell you, Mr. Kambwili was a businessman here, has always been a businessman, even before he went into politics. So if you are talking about his little wealth, it's what a genesis. There'll be people who come and say, look, we used to deal with Chishimba Kambwili in this circumstance. Like when I was called at the Anti-Corruption Commission, they asked me how I managed to build my houses. They asked me how I managed to buy my cars. All I did to them was that, oh, You are talking about us number 15, W Avenue. This is the income I got from KCM. And when I got this income, I paid so much duty and taxes. After paying taxes, we paid the workers and I got so much, I built this house. This house, I built this house. They were very thorough actually when they got me. That's why you haven't seen them touch any of my properties, because they saw that they were genuinely acquired. Now look, a person like Bowman Lusambo, let me give an example. Bowman Lusambo used to supply me speakers and disco lights. Today, he can give donations 4 years after being in government, which are more donations than even NHS can give. What does that show you? And then corruption are watching. Look at my friend Taruchukia, Minister of Health. We knew him before he joined here, before he was in government. He had a lodge in Imansa, which lodge sometimes could not even pay workers. In fact, most of the time. Today, Taruchukia owns property all over Zambia. And even if you go to the Minister of Land, you'll see that he has accumulated property after being minister. A lot of them. And then corruption is just watching. Sure. Where are we going as a country? Transparent governments are announcing how much they've collected in terms of donations and from cooperating partners. For instance, yesterday I heard Germany is giving us 370 million kwacha. Crime, I believe, country. I hope that money doesn't go in the hands of Ababantu Abale Eminwe. I appeal to my brother, Dr. Ngandwe, please safeguard our money. That money has been given to the people of Zambia. Let not that money end up in the pockets of individuals. We don't know how much. The biggest figure that we've heard of in terms of local donation was 28 million kwacha from Trade King. We've had so many donations from other mining companies and banks. May we please be told what is the total of what we have collected so far? How have we dispersed this money? How are we using this money? And we are hearing that the health workers, frontline health workers, who have been quarantined for 14 days, after doing 14 days continuous shift without going home, are not getting any allowance at all, any extra incentive at all. We are told we don't have protective PPE, personal protective equipment. And most of our medical personnel have ended up contracting this disease. So when will we ever be transparent in this country? And when the minister is asked, it becomes emotional. When he's asked about donations, it becomes emotional. There's no reason to be emotional on these things. These are national issues. Gentlemen, when you leave government, you'll be followed by the law. For me, I will not want to treat anybody the way I've been treated on flimsy grounds, appearing in court every day from 2017. I can't run around to look for money. I can't campaign because I'm always in court. We are not going to treat people like that when we come into office. But those who be found wanting, the law will deal with them without interference from politicians. The law must deal with offenders genuinely, not to go and bring a political leader and say, go and lay this complaint, frame the complaint against the court. Then you organize that somebody must be sent to prison so that it doesn't appear on the ballot paper. And the system, everybody, it is documented. And somebody even says, no, Kambwili, we have already dealt with him, he will not be on the ballot. We are not going to sink so low. But all those people are to be found wanting in terms of corruption by the law, not the presidency, not the ministers. They will have to answer to the law. If they are guilty, they are guilty. If they are not guilty, they will not be, intimidated. So the level of corruption in this country is very worrisome. I was reading one article that those who are doing the Lusaka road expansion, AFCON, I don't know how far this is, but it gives a lot of worry when you hear such things, are charging $796 per kilometer of those roads, while who are these? AVIC are charging $2.3 million per kilometer. What is the explanation? What is the explanation? Almost all the roads in Zambia now are given to AVIC. Wherever there is a job is AVIC. I mean, we are all seeing, even NCC seeing, that there must be something questionable about this AVIC arrangement. They have built over 2,000 police houses. If these contracts were given even to Zambians, that money for the 2,000 houses could have remained in Zambia. But they gave the whole contract to one company, who is a foreign company. He builds and the money is externalized to China. How do you expect to have those on the market? Hence, the rate of the quarter to the dollar has gone to unprecedented levels. So yes, corruption is an issue that we must deal with.
Right. So allow me if I can take another call on 0955-221515. Good morning and welcome to the program. Your name and where you're calling us from?
Uncle Zaki, good morning. This is Jakose calling from within Lusaka.
Jakose from within Lusaka. Please go ahead.
Wonderful. President Mashibukeni.
And come by Mashibukeni cannabis.
Not Shubuka. Mashibuka, well spoken, Mr. President. Lekani want Ichinyanja. One Zambia, one nation, President. Mukamba Buno, Munga Gudariseni. Tembekeza ma president, amene baibe corruption background yao, ibe corruption. Singa chitala ukuthi Zambia izienda mu system yoipa. Because itembekeza kuti sema youth. Tifuna Zambia tigapeze pamushe nene nika benefit yako. But Mr. President, tifuna blame biggest opposition UPND promote naimwe na alliance yonse because mwatirekerera tifuna kutenga serious tiziwa kuti mayuthi if government ya PF kuli corruption ya mbili but mayuthi mwatirekera but blame amene funa mbuleme sukuti niyo mbulema ya kuti kulibebe muchitiratu nifuna chabe mwe munyamuke musebenza as opposition mutitanize mayuthi because italila maningi stinga nkale kuti kuchowa mu 1964 bantu bamozi na bamozi amene batibera nzeru tiziba ikako bazinkala mu ministry yosiyana siyana niye baononga noononga bachita even information yes mayuthi stinga information ya mushi. You see Mr. President tandizo inangu amene funa munitanizire President Chishimba Kambwili amufuna munitanizire Mr. President kuti nizibe kuti zindalama zamene badonate abantu izindalama ametima mvera kuti ababa Ted King badonate 28 years ndalama zambili tivera futi ndalama zamene badonate abantu bambili so tifuna kuti mumunitanizire kuti zijandalama Mr. President zioneke pewa machita address bachita ruchirufya nifuna kuti mubauzeni kuti bachirufya bazita address ya coronavirus futi bazita address issue ya ndalama kuti tasebelisa ndalama zingati ndalama zansala ni zingati kuti muzambie na ankala aware yelo futi point number 2 wafuna kuti batizibise Dr. Chishimba Kambwili mwikire nzero kuti mubauzi bachita ruchirufya batizibise abantu bamene badwala names bamene badwala ku Redmanasa Hospital futi na bantu bamene banapola batuze na bantu bamene banafa na mafamilies ya tifuna kubaziwa because if as the youth in as Jakose naona manga trust muni wa PF tankana manga tiribe because tuona manga bamba kutisoberesa kunzeru mu makanti yenango Mr. President mwetu in conclusion Mr. Zaki mu makanti lebe nango meti matamba NSC denti matamba BBC au jazila timatamba bantu bakugana banashikiwa kuja bantu baku Ethiopia banashikiwa issue ya coronavirus wali muzambia muno tibisa information ibisiwa wa tibisa information muzambia bantu bazakurukira bwani kuti muzambia coronavirus ilipo because bantu baleka noyopa nowadays basiya kuyopa bantu.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Mr. Jakose. I will have to leave it there. See if we can quickly squeeze in another call on 0955-221515. Good morning. Your name and where are you calling us from?
You're talking to Brother Morgan within Osaka.
Brother Morgan.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah. You know, what we want, we as a citizen of this country, we want to create more employment. We want to build on economy. And when you build on economy, bambuye bako baja bali kumunzi baja. Bazakwanisa kugula sopo. Bazakwanisa kugula chovala. Ngati nkola miseri bwino. Wonse muntu avutika. Kapena ali na ndrama, ali bendrama atuvutikira kumoja. Maona ngati ulina mafamu 10, ulina matrakta 6 Africa diesel. So pakuti ugule mafuta aja ufaka diesel. Kuzakwanisa bwanji ngati nkola miseri bwino. So iti ndiye tematikamba. Tifuna kuleta nchito kuli ba youth. Tifuna kuleta nchito kuma youth ma farmers kuti imwe bonse mgangane na mbuto na fertilizer mkazilima. Tifuna kuleta nchito kuma youth kuleta mbuzi, kuku zoteka kuja. So iti ndiye tifuna kuleta chitukuko muziko mwatu kuti bonse tifuna kuforesa pa civil servant ndarama pa mwenzi noti kusarangela nkongole. So iti ndiye tifuna kuchita. This is our vision. That's why Bambili Bali Mululu Party Batuzati. Balika vision. This is our vision, which is failing in the ruling party. We want to bring free of expression. Tika Sakavara media, Bonga Banavara post the plan. We are let all the media to be free in our country. I think thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Honorable, do you have any reactions to those calls?
Certainly. You see, for me, it is an eye-opener for those in government. If people are lamenting, like the way the two previous callers have lamented, it's up to the people in government to listen. But you see the problem that we have in this country, you hear a PS cut the phones and start insulting them, start disrespecting them. But those are ordinary people on the street who are feeling the pinch of this, bad leadership and economy. And if I were in government, I would get those views and make sure that we work on those issues. The issue of employment. This 20 billion that we've borrowed and put in roads, roads that are not even being completed, and that, would have created a lot of employment. I have always given a very good example of Mpongwe district. Mpongwe district was just a bush. It was not even a district. It was part of Luansha, a part of Masaiti. And I mean, Masaiti, a Boma, we used to call it in that time, Dora Rural. It was a bush that nobody thought would ever be a district. Dr. Guy Scott and CDC, Commonwealth Development Corporation, identified Mpongwe as an area where you can grow wheat so that we avoid wasting forex in importing wheat from South Africa and other countries. They started a project which today is Zambi Farm. That farm employs in excess of 18,000 people. And Mpongwe is now a town. That investment was only 6.5 million euros, which is roughly about $7 million. Now imagine if, for argument's sake, we say at today's global economic situation, it has moved to $10 million. If you get $10 million, you say, per each district, we are going to create a replica of the Mpongwe Development Farm in all the 100 plus districts. You create a project by identifying, I'm not saying you grow wheat all over, identifying which cash crop would do better in a particular district and area. You invest $10 million in agriculture. Over 100 districts by 10 million, by 18, 20,000 people. That would have created employment. But our friends don't want to look at investing in things that will take too long time to mature, because they want to eat immediately. They want to go on the road. They can build the road today and get their commission. We have ended up in this situation, all in the name of corruption. Because most of the projects, the roads that we have done in this country, are not economical roads. But we've done them not because we want to give the people good roads, but because we want to get the commission. Jobs are dwindling in this country. I shudder and bleed every time. My heart bleeds when I see Trump talking about how many jobs have been created since he became president. And in this country's rhetoric, we'll create 1 million jobs. Where are the 1 million jobs? The 1 million jobs they are talking about, when we follow Shaba Hazi, and they are constructing the roads. What a country. What a leadership. What a leadership.
Mr. President, I will have to excuse you. I know that we've had you for almost an hour now, and we would also want to obviously do a post-mortem of what you and I have discussed with your media director here. I can only say thank you very much for accepting this invitation to have a chat with us, unless you have concluding remarks for the people listening.
People of Zambia, they say, each kwanka batumana kuma mpalanya. Each kwanka batumana kuma mpalanya. People of Zambia, the members say, aka kunyelele kapalama. People of Zambia, it's a concord, you know what concord, you know. We don't hate our friends in the PS. They are our friends and they will remain our brothers. I have nothing against President Edgar Lungu. He will always be my brother, even if he has squeezed me. But he will always be my brother. And I will respect him as a human being. But I only differ in the way they are running the economy, in the way they are running the affairs of this country. You know, making people more poorer than they found them. The onus is on the people of Zambia. 2021 is coming. Vote wisely. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And of course, this is the Tuesday edition of The Burning Issue on the Happy World of 5 FM radio. That was our guest. And of course, we had we have two guests. That was our leader for the NDC. Honorable Dr. Chishimba Kambwili, and with me in the studio is the NDC Media Director, Emmanuel Malite. Once again, good to have you.
Thank you. That was a long call.
It was a long call,
yes,
indeed, and well, it was important because we needed to discuss these matters. I mean, what is it that you picked out from a number of these discussions we had with the president that you would like to add on and refine some of them?
You know, you could see the man that has a heart for the Zambian people, and despite of me being very close to him and very working under his office,
right?
I know his heart towards the Zambian people, and you see, they formed PF on a pretext and on an ideology that it's a pro-poor government.
Government, yes.
Yeah. But you see, pro-poor government, when you are a pro-poor government, you don't keep people in poverty. That is an opposite what is happening right now. It's now the opposite. They have kept people in poverty worse than they found them from the MMD. Reason being, they've allowed the people to remain in poverty and not to empower them. So now they were voted into power, into provide and elevate the people's lives. at least. So when you look at the poor leadership that now under President Lungu, it's something that is very, very, very sad as a nation where we're going. Why am I saying that? Look, the more of being a pro-poor government is to the gap between the rich and the poor is a bit leveled, and aside you have people on the middle class. In such a way, you create employment. What the PF has managed to do over the youths is to just train hooligans. It was very sad when they were celebrating the youth. Youth started fighting in forefront of the president. The same youths, they started up an argument, and I was very, very shocked that this is the empowerment that they were saying. What they've created a monster in trying to use these youths to just bring political violence that you've witnessed. So, in those discussions that I'm seeing is Zambians should now wake up and now start noticing who are real leaders. I mean, if Chishimba Kambwili decides to say, I'll stay away, I'm not going to talk about because I've been squeezed, my business has been squeezed because I'm a critic, I'm a government critic, he'll still have his kids going to school. I mean, he still have a stable income at the moment. But we need to start identifying leaders in this country, not based on what they give you when they want to vote you into power. I'll tell you an example. What happened in Ron when we had a by-election? In Ron, when we had a by-election, then PF came with money. I've never seen money flocking like that. They were not holding meetings. They were lining up people to give them 20 kwacha, 1 kwacha, 20 kwacha. But you see the people of Ron, they've had that man for 13 years in parliament. And when we did a survey on the ground on what happened with what Dr. Chishimba Kambwili did to the people of Ron, it could not be bought off just over a peanut of just 1 bag of mealie and just a chitenge. You would go there on the ground. People would tell me that the honorable is the one that is paying all these, is the one who's paying for my school fees. He was paying over 500 orphanages in that constituency. For him to empower them, to empower the people to that extent, they could not just avoid but to give him back the vote as NDC. So this is what I'm trying to say. Look, here is the man offering himself to save this country with a good ideology, to save you people. And only we cannot see. What happened, we realized that the mistake that we made on President Michael Sat should not be repeated. It should not be repeated. What we need to identify right now is to come up. I know there are certain youths who are ready to join the NDC, who are ready to work with the NDC, who are ready to just get involved in it's so hard. It's so hard. Sometimes from some of us, we avoid even visiting certain places, government institutions, because they don't want to affiliate ourselves. They don't want to affiliate with Emmanuel Malite, because Emmanuel Malite moves with Kambwili, who's being followed by the police all the time. But look, it's time to rise. We can never be as docile as we are right now and leave this country go into just a mess. So all the summary that I was having in this discussion saying, look, here we are. An opportunity has been presented to us. Here is the leaders who are willing to work with us, who are willing to save this country, with a heart to save this country. But we still want to do, I'm the diehard. What are you dying for? Diehard for what? You die to an ideology that will save you from a certain, but we've seen a trend in youths, and this is what they've developed. This is what I've noticed. I've peer friends. We've seen this trend in the youths. No, I'm a diehard PF. What are you dying for? You're going to die in hunger. You're going to die in unemployment. So this issue of die hard, you are dying, yes. So it's time for you to you see, I like using proverbs. In my language, in my language, they say, I'm Lunda, by the way. They say, "Kochi kamba chingana balumuna." What do I mean? When you trying to try to roast the cassava, and you're meant to be turning it. I'm trying to tell you, look, what we need is, if PF is not working according to what we expect as the youths, as people of Zambia, change. We don't have to die in trying to believe in something that is not working. This is what I've normally gotten on this.
But then I would like to also ask you a question. In as far as the NDC UPND alliance and maybe other parties. I mean, much as we know that leaders are in discussion, but then are you also, at the lower level discussing with members of the alliance?
Yes, we've been discussing. We've had, especially we've had. I mean, even the media team. We have a media team for the alliance.
For the alliance.
For the alliance. Right. Even the youth league, they will have the youth league for the alliance.
Okay.
But you see, the alliance is one of the threats that the PF are afraid of, because they know that we have a certain common goal that we're trying to achieve.
Right.
And you see, in an alliance, we are not trying to what we may call that we're trying to be optimist, that we're trying to bring numbers. It's ideology that we want to merge in order to bring out a good thing. We're trying to bring an ideology of UPND, an ideology of ADD, an idea of NDC, and try to see how we can work to elevate to improve this nation. And that has been working very well. But of course, when you're growing up, when an organization is growing up, you have to face certain casualties. You've seen how others have been out of the alliance, and this is you'd tell this is a birthing of a real thing, but you face all these shortcomings that comes with coming together, having this ideology. And I'll put it very clear: our ideology is very, very simple. We are standing and we say, as our ideology is Ubuntu. If we are human-centered first, anything that we want to provide to this country is to put a Zambian man first, and not anything else apart from putting the people first. Yes.
So from the discussion again, which we had with the president, I do realize that one of the callers that called in did bring out the issue of media being threatened. We've seen a couple of closures of certain media houses, and you are coming from the media department of the party. I mean, how do you find this as a party, in terms of having seen the recent Being Prime TV, to be precise, coming to a closure?
As somebody who's running a media department in the NDC, and being a strategist in terms of, I have a political mindset and what no. The first sign that you know that a country it's facing a democratic space is shrinking. The first sign that you know, that you see that if the media and the journalists cannot carry their work effectively, without intimidation and without, just know that something is happening, because you are the frontliners in informing people. The media is the frontliners in informing whatever that the real thing that is happening on the ground. And you notice that it has been attacked. Just know that the democracy of a country is at stake. The democracy of this country is at stake. Number one, because the media and the journalists are not doing their work accordingly, because they're under intimidation by the political influence that we have in this country. But you see, you cannot suppress the media for too long. It will still speak out. Some media houses will still speak out. So the best thing that us as NDC would rather see our own nakedness if we are in government, see our own nakedness if we we are the way we are in the opposition, see our own weakness as from the media, and we give because that's our litmus test. We get the feedback from the media. How are we doing on the ground? How are we working on the ground? But like I can say, that's the first sign that democracy is being threatened in this country, and it's very unfortunate.
Right. And obviously, because of time, I know that you and me basically just meant to summarize on what the president had said. But as we conclude, I mean, what is your appeal to more so, because I know you are a youth and you have a lot of youths that you are appealing to, obviously, as a party. What would be your concluding remarks and your message to everyone out there listening?
Zambian people, you need to realize one thing, and this is what we have realized. I have personally realized. We need that voice. Remember, there was a time we didn't know about the fire truck. There was that one voice that spoke, and the fire truck issue scandal was brought in light. We did not know Bamoniba Mushirumburwa, they were accompanying the president. They are questionable characters. There was that one voice that spoke. Zambians should realize and identify the leader in Chishimba Kambwili. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel, and thank you very much also to the president of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, Honorable Dr. Chishimba Kambwili, who was with us on the line from his residence. And thank you to everyone that obviously listened and those that participated by way of calling or sending us a message. We can only wish you all the best. And we should be back, God willing, again on a Thursday for the Thursday edition of the burning issue. We can only wish you all the best and goodbye from me.
Tune in next week for another edition of the burning issue, and thank you for your participation. Democracy and freedom of expression is about tolerating the views that you don't like from someone you might not like.
Baby, all night, boy, you take me there. Ooh, baby, now I found your love. I want us to make it. All I'm thinking of is wanting to take it. Not happy with this life till you.